Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow. In today's episode, it's a really first of a series of episodes. I'm going to try to attempt to do something that I've not done before, but I always had the idea of, and that is to do a review on some written work about anime. Okay, so people have been using anime to write essays, to write like theses and documents, and obviously homework assignments and that kind of stuff about anime. And so in this episode is going to be a start of a long chain of episodes, because obviously to fully do an analysis on a written work, it may require me several episodes to go over different points and that kind of stuff. But um, this is one of these sort of rare situations I get to do this. So before I begin and talk about this, I want to remind people to go down below, click like, and click subscribe. Again, any sort of comments and things that you would write down does help the YouTube algorithm. So at least hitting that like definitely does really help. So do please do that. Again, if you want to support me financially, I do have the super thanks button available, as well as the PayPal and Patreon links. Again, I've now added a little more content to the Patreon. So again, if people who are interested in my new ebook that's out, I've now added video versions of that available now. Again, so again, you can go to the Patreon, you can log in for free, and again, I've made it so that any of the paid accounts, has access to that first ebook for free, and the video version, you get a massive discount on it as well. So in case you would like to get a video version of the ebook, okay, as well as the audiobook as well. So do check that out. Link is below. Okay, so as I said, in this episode, I'm going to be going through and doing analysis on these written pieces of work. So people have obviously submitted either thesis documents or maybe their homework assignments, or that's for some of the writing, creative writing, or in this case it's whatever studies that they happen to be doing. Okay, and it uses a lot of references to anime, and part of the reason why I made this this channel is to inform people and to record and document history, of this age of anime that we've had in North America. And a lot of people who are doing this kind of research and that kind of stuff are having problems finding actual sources and actual information in regards to this era of anime. Okay, and and I've seen it from people from Crunchyroll and people from various different magazines and that kind of stuff are all interviewing different people and are trying to find information about the origins of how anime got this way. So in today's episode, I've come across a piece of writing. Okay, it does have this sort of a political sort of type of leaning towards it. Okay, and again, I don't want to talk politics and that kind of stuff, and most people don't really care, especially on this particular part of the channel, because my emphasis is on this again, documenting a time period in our history that that transpired and isn't well documented. Not very many people have written too many articles and that kind of stuff about it, and not too many people, especially from this particular era, have basically documented what exactly has gone on in this thing. And so what ends up happening is people tend to rely on things like Google and whatnot to write their essays and to get confirmation bias on their particular works. And this is particularly poor when Google does not show results for things that happened in the 1990s or the 1980s, right? They actually need some people, some interviews, and that kind of stuff to be made. And that's, primarily one of the main functions of my channel here, is to provide this documentation, to show you pictures, to tell you stories and accounts, show you merchandise and things that came from that, and how we came across it, getting this stuff, what this means, tie in things that happen in anime with things that are happening in real life. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to do with that. So again, this isn't a typical type of episode, and the way that I'm tackling this episode is maybe a little bit strange and very very long. Okay, but I assure you, even though we are touching a little bit on politics, do not pay attention to it too much because I won't delve too deeply into it. Okay, I'll touch on it, but I won't really get into why what particular things that happen on that, because there's a lot of factors and that kind of stuff, and that's not what this particular channel is really about to. But what I want to address, and which is the most important thing, is when people do research, okay, and they go and try to find information that supports their research, okay, and they use Google and that kind of stuff, this is confirmation bias. The fact that you're specifically looking for information and looking for essentially yes men, okay, people that will say yes to whatever you say, to basically confirm what you're writing. And of course, this is really poor scientific method, right? And since the topic is anime, I want to be this person that comes in and says, okay, using my own accounts, my own and whatever evidence and documentations and that kind of stuff, fan letters and newsletters, merchandise, art books, or whatever that happens to be, that I have available as a historic archive. I want to present it to you and tell my story in helping you understand and build this picture, the story. If you want to, kind of have a vision that's not just in front of you but around you, right? What are all the other factors that transcribe around you? So when I describe what the environment of, let's say, an anime convention in 1991, or some of the funny stories and conflicts and cosplay and that kind of stuff that happened at Comic-Con in '89. Okay, I want to not only tell you the story, I want to see if I can get you some pictures. I want to give you some context of why this is this particular thing happened. Was there any other things happening at the con that might have transpired? What about any sort of popular culture things that were also happening, or news stories that was happening at that particular time that has a significance of why this sort of thing occurred in anime? And this is what I want to present. Okay, this is the history part and the accounting part and of course the recording of and documentating of this kind of history, because as I said, um, we're all getting older, okay, and if we don't tell our story, if we don't get it, told in and documented, then we may become people like Carl Masick, Don Yee, Torrance Smith, all these people who are pivotal members of the anime community, but they're no longer around anymore, and they can't tell their story, and and all the things, whether or not good, bad, conflicts, their opinions on stuff, on how they handled things, and all the inside stories that we can't find on Google, and people didn't post on any sort of form, gets lost. Okay, that part of history is lost, and until someone comes through and documents it, maybe brings out some receipts and brings out some scripts or things of basically historical importance, okay, like these anime artifacts, if you will, okay, um, you know their story will never be fully, as I said, fully appreciated and fully understood, and then it'll be just basically left for interpretation. And one good example I just did a few episodes ago is the story of the most mysterious song on the internet. Okay, the mere fact that it is highly possible that most members of the band who wrote that song are no longer around. Even the producer that probably made that thing is probably, maybe, possibly no longer around. And with that, it may be very impossible to find out who exactly wrote that song and where it came from and that kind of stuff. And it may be just one of those untold, basically unsolved mysteries, right? And in this era, at this particular time, there should be no excuse for these untold mysteries or unsolved unresolved and unsolved anime things in history. Because as I said, we are still very, very young. As I said, we have entered a year of 40 years of anime in North America here. We should be able to have and document our own history and be able to do that, because as I said, we're not that old yet. Not that old yet, so let's get that. Okay, so anyway, I apologize for such a long opening. But yes, so here we're going to be in. I'm going to break this up into smaller episodes, and I'm going to kind of spread them out so that it's more digestible, and people can think about and do the different things rather than one big, huge 5-hour, 6-hour long video. Okay, so I'll break it up for you. All right. So without further delay, let's begin.
In March 1996, Roderick Lee, I think I might have got some letters from him, if I remember right, one of the self-proclaimed rec.arts.anime veterans. I'd agree, yeah. He's been around the news groups, pretty much the conception, that's for sure. Definitely volunteered lots of time to do the news group, right? A de facto moderator, if you will. Wrote a manifesto asking users to vote no during an ongoing group voting process. Okay, so we have a copy of the manifesto here, so we're going to go through that rather than having her quote things out of the manifesto. We're going to go right to that first right away. The other thing is, to agree on separating the news group, the Usenet community had to vote on it. Okay. Now, the interesting thing that the way that it's written here, and that maybe not documented in her further part, is Usenet community defining as who. All right. This is where you have to get into the sort of the process or the procedure. Okay. If you understand how the hierarchy works, is right. Okay, the news groups are set in what they call a Big 8 hierarchy, which is a sort of a tree down sort of hierarchy, right? If you want to split the news group or do any changes to or create a new news group, okay, you have to what they call an RFD, or request for discussion. Okay, this thing is then submitted to a committee. Okay, not the anime group committee. This sort of administration committee. Okay, and then they vote on it, and then if they vote that this is a good idea, this is a group that can be put on, then they will create it. Now this is different. Okay, now making a difference. Okay, this is different than polling your own community, right? So the people who use rec.arts.anime, polling them and saying, hey guys, this news group is getting kind of bulky, whatever. We're going to put a vote to to changing it and doing this kind of thing, right? She made no distinction which Usenet community she's talking about, because the anime group, rec.arts.anime, was not consulted. They were not the ones that were voting on it. It's the people who are not the anime community. Okay, so the big wigs, the actual organizational committee of the Usenet, they're the ones voting on it. Okay, so when they say, wrote a manifesto asking users, that's not the anime users. Okay, it's the the internet construction people's quote users to vote no, because once that RFD has been submitted, okay, there's nothing that you can do to stop it. It's either the committee is going to either vote yes or vote no on it, and then that is the way it goes. And so we'll kind of go into the story of how this is very significant by going to this manifesto that is documented here, because I don't want to pull things out of her things, because obviously she's going to pick and choose the exact words that she wants to use in her thing. I'm going to go right to the manifesto itself and pull the story out of that. With Split Talk out of the news group again, I began planning the RFD, so that request for discussion, with Stephen Pearl. Now again, I 100% agree that Stephen Pearl is literally the shepherd, the de facto moderator for this group. Like he puts together the FAQs and that kind of stuff, and he did a great job. And I think most people that use the news group definitely respect him. So obviously, if he has anything to say or inputs about how the news group should be done, I would have full confidence that he is doing that in the best interest of the group, definitely for sure. With the goal present to present it during the online panel at Anime East 95. So again, what has happened is that we had Anime Expo 95. Okay, so this is now Anime America 94, now changing over to Anime Expo 1, essentially, for 95 here in Anaheim, right? And that happened during the summer, just before Comic-Con. Okay, they had an identical sort of anime convention called Anime East 95. So the first big sort of convention happening on the East Coast in 95. But of course that was happening in November. So basically, I think it was the Anime Expo in early August, and then then later on Anime East in November, right? So they're basically preparing it up, getting ready for fan input, holding a discussion, with the users of the anime news group, right? Let's just get it organized. Let's hash out some of the ideas and how we're going to subjugate it, and if there's any problems in doing so, right? That'll be the proper way to do it, right? You want to produce and serve your fans. You want to produce a product that your fans want. So, to do it responsibly and to do it properly, you want to listen to what your fans are telling you to do, and then you see, how that fits into your matrix or into your plan in order to do so. That's the proper way you would do this kind of thing. That'd be the most logical, right? Because you don't want to put out something that's confusing. This is not the fans don't like this. Like, why the hell did you do this kind of thing? Obviously you want to get the full input when you can, right? So first thing, that's what you do. So they had this all planned out. Then, since the news group creation process takes a minimum of 2 months, and we did not want the holiday season to interfere, we decided to launch the RFD at the beginning of 96, which makes sense, because obviously, as soon as you finish going to the con, right, December comes, that's Christmas season. You don't want to be, trying to get people's opinions and trying to formulate the ideas over Christmas break, right? Because, sure, some people might be on vacation, that kind of stuff, but obviously, you got to worry about buying Christmas presents and traveling and all this other stuff to be with family and whatnot. So it's a big hassle. So basically, they have a timeline set. We have a plan in place. We're going to get, we're going to do some consultation to figure out, where we're going. So it's the proper way you'd want to do something, right? If you have an issue or a problem with the news group, with just doing too many users, you want to ask the users. You want to get feedback from other networking people and other people in the industry, to get an idea of what sort of things are out there. Because obviously, by 93 or 95, right, Arctic Animation has probably over 500 fan subs out there. Okay, so a lot of people are asking for fan subs, Sailor Moon and Orange Road and Maison Akaku and of course at this time we now have Pat Labor in there, and we got all these other magical girl shows coming up, like Hime-chan's Ribbon and obviously Sailor Moon, Miracle Girls, and all this other stuff are all waiting in the wings, waiting to come out, right? So it's probably a good idea to keep these in mind, because as I said, this is a huge influx of stuff. You got lots of anime fans coming in. They're going to be asking for lots of information. It's probably a good idea to figure out what future upgrades that you're going to have to need to make in order to satisfy this influx of new fans, right? Not to include, most of these new fans are going to be female, right? You got to pay attention to be cognitive of that. And the fact that they decided to open up this process shows it's not negative networking. It's actually being mindful of your audience, male or female, and noticing that because we have a huge influx of female users, hey, you may as well, consider whether or not we should have a bishoujo, section, or maybe something for all the yaoi content or something, or yuri content. Maybe we should have that, right? Because we're talking about inclusion, right? We're talking about that kind of stuff, right? Maybe you want to have a futa section, right? So to have extra inclusion, right? But you didn't think of that, did you? Right? No one thinks about discussion, because that's what's going to happen. So we continue. Thus, it took both of us by surprise to find out that an independent RFD was posted less than a week after Anime East by a relative r.a.a. newcomer, Stephanie De Silva. It just happens to be a female, but it could have been a male, but it just happens to be a female. Okay, so basically, soon after Anime East ended, just at the end of November, just before December, somebody, some person, that was on their news group decided to submit an RFD to the internet gurus, and it wasn't them. Even though they were already, doing the information, they were all doing all the, the question answering and that kind of stuff. They, someone decided to just go ahead and produce their own RFD, and they submitted it. Okay, maybe they had some input from Animes, maybe they didn't. I don't know, because it doesn't say in this document. But that's obviously not right. Because it says, now the internet has always been portrayed as anarchy, and it's true, right? But with Usenet, that's not only the appearance, it is the reality, and he's 100% right about that, right? The fact that all the problems and issues that you normally would have with anarchy, trust me, the internet would be the place to be, and definitely Usenet was so utilitarian. It was like that. Okay, it is like the worst of the worst. When it comes to newsgroup administration, which is where the group creation and the splits fall under. So if you're going to create a new group or you're going to split a group, you have to go to this Usenet newsgroup administration, right? The Usenet is exclusively dominated by a small, opinionated oligarch set of news groups, right? News.groups readers. Okay, so basically, there's a certain number of very elitish type of people. Okay, because they hold all the control. Okay, male or female, right? They hold all the control in this news group here, right? And whatever you submit to them, they pour it over, and they do all the deciding. If they don't like it, then out it goes, right? And there's nothing that you can say. There's no debating. There's no presentation or trying to convince them or whatever by bribing them or whatever. There's none of that. Unless you knew what was going on, you couldn't influence their votes or whatever, right? So. He writes, and once an RFD is posted, so all you have to do is basically construct a message, your RFD proposal, and you post it to this news group, so you post it up to the news group changing forum, right? Once it's posted up there, there's nothing anyone can do. All right, it's now you've left it in the hands of the oligarchs to figure out whether not you approve it or not approve it. So what someone's done here is the Stephanie person. What she's done is basically, copy and pasted or drafted her own, right? Did it the way that she wanted to do without any consultation, right? No one knew that she was going to do this, and she basically shoved it into the news group thing to basically bypass the entire democratic sort of workload sort of thing, right? Total anarchy, a total, literally a total dick power move. Okay, so while admittedly the readership of the news group is not restrictive, very few people have the need or desire to read the news.groups all the time, and they are on some kind of power trip. Okay, so yes, so there's the special news.groups, news group where things like RFDs and discussion is put, but you know think of all the hundreds of submissions that you get and all the literal crap that goes in through there. Do these people have time to do that? No, of course not. Right? They're the bosses. To them, this is a hassle, having to go through this voting process and all of their stuff to add or delete news groups, and especially if it's like, yeah, I'm not interested in, whatever soap opera dot General Hospital. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, no, right? Or something like that. No one can debate them about it. No one can help influence their decision. Like if they don't like soap operas or they don't like General Hospital, but forget it. No, right? And then you get turned down. So 100% anarchy and 100% power tripping. 100%. And since Da Silva boasts about the number of groups she has created or split in 1995 alone, she definitely fits the profile of power mad news groups regular. All right. So here you are. Okay. In your initial letter, you said that most of these male users are feeling entitled to the control of this news group or whatever. Okay, and here you come along with a person that from the sounds of it, only came into it in '93, probably maybe with the AOL group, right, and coming in here and basically, because of the number of the messages that this person posts, not in terms of contributions or anything else like that, or FAQ or any sort of community service. No, just because they've posted lots of messages, a big blabbermouth. They've somehow entitled themselves. She entitled herself to take responsibility for this group and execute these changes. Isn't this exactly the it's my way or the highway approach that Trish LeDoux used? Isn't this the my way or the highway approach that Kathleen Turner at Disney did for Star Wars? Isn't it? Strange how that works. And strange how it works that if such a thing happened, you aren't ready to take the flack, and receive some resistance and some, resentment that this was done. Isn't that kind of weird, eh? Isn't that kind of also weird that the accountability all of a sudden goes out the window when this sort of thing happens, huh? Interesting. Is this the feminist agenda? I wonder. So basically, what has happened is that literally the anarchy, she found a way to bypass the shall we say hierarchy, if you will. She found a shortcut, a way to bypass it, and she decided to take it on upon herself to write up a manifesto, an RFD, and do it the way that she wanted to, and get it submitted before these guys, finished the finalization and the proper discussions and that kind of stuff to build the forms in the proper way. But instead, nope. Let's skip all the experts. I want it done my way. So it's the my way, the highway situation, right? Anyway, so moreover, the condescending attitude to established r.a.a. veterans. So basically, people like Stephen Pearl, Ryan. I should know Ryan's name. I've dealt with him. I can't remember his last name. Ken or Marty. And this is how I found this article, by the way. Because then you notice in my last episode where I went over fan letters, I got a letter. The first letter I got from Ken Ormardi, and I decided to Google his name, and that's how I came across this document. So, thanks to him. Yes, he's one of the early pivotal members of this thing. Ever since 1991, when he first asked for the fan subs for Maison Orange Road from me, right? So he's definitely been there double the number of years that the Silver Person is, and he also created the Sailor Moon news group. He was the one that did that, So obviously he's got the experience. He knows what he's doing. Okay, the Silver Person, I don't know. Qualifications of posting lots of messages. I don't know. That sounds like a little bit of entitlement there, right? Furthermore, as Steve noted in the panel, even those groups that he originally advocated to have their charters altered to point at, they were no longer the groups that most of us came to some kind of agreement upon last summer. So basically, it's a whole bunch of groups that that were proposed and put in there. We're not even like the groups that they wanted anymore, because things have changed so much. They looked at how probably the way that the anime industry is growing, and where all the interest is going to. Things need to be split a certain way, right? Obviously, that wasn't paid attention to because she didn't want it that way, or maybe she, again, being a newcomer in '93, maybe she wasn't really going to be interested in a lot of the older animes. Maybe wasn't aware that so much fan subbing has been done on all these classic animes and that kind of stuff, and what is going to be coming up does have no forethought of planning for such things to occur.
Thank you for sticking along and basically staying with it for this long. I really appreciate that. I said again, this is not typical content that I like to to do, and but I think it's very interesting. Not so much for the the topic or whatever of the particular essay here, okay? Because I don't that's probably that's politics and that kind of stuff is something I don't want to get into on this particular channel. But again, the importance of is correctly documenting events that happened in the past, especially in this very important golden era part of anime, and making and setting the record straight. You can make your own interpretations, and as when I remember when I took when I was on jury duty, okay, someone made a very prolific statement, okay, which really shaped the way how I think and interpret things. And this is what he said. You can choose to not believe, partially believe, total believe, none, some, or all of the evidence. Okay? So think about that. You can either, and this is it, there's, you've provided 6 different possibilities for one particular type of outcome. So if someone presents you a piece of information, you can choose to 0% believe none of it. Okay, like you have no confidence in it. You can have some belief or some particular confidence of some level, or you can be totally invested in believing this thing. Okay, but also you can also choose to believe none of the evidence. So, if multiple pieces or one piece of evidence that has different facets of it, you can choose to believe none of that. Maybe some parts of the evidence you deem credible and you will believe some parts of that. Or you trust the evidence, okay, so you fully believe that this evidence is 100% all parts of the evidence, so all the evidence as a whole, and you can choose to believe none of it, some of it, or all of it. And you can choose what level you believe it to, whether or not you just decide to 100% with or 0% confidence in any parts of that, partial confidence in 0 to all of it, or 100% confidence in none or all of it. Okay? Seems kind of confusing, but at the same time, it really resonated with me about how you would learn to interpret things and take the parts that you want to, that you feel credible, okay, and then you can analyze that using critical thinking to determine whether or not you wish to add this to your base of knowledge or disregard it as just total fluff, or maybe something in the middle. Partially you agree with certain parts, you don't agree with certain parts, you feel fuzzy about certain parts, but you're confident that the evidence is actually true, but you're not really sure. Well, that's so it handles all the different gray zones, both positively on that. So again,
the goal here is to train your mind how to see the world differently, how to question what others say. I've come to realize that there are three categories of truth: personal truth, political truths, and the objective truths that shape our understanding of the universe. The interesting thing about an objective truth is that it's true no matter what. Imagine that.
that's just something one story I like to reflect on. But again, we have more episodes of this. This is a fairly long essay, but as I said, I'll split up the episodes and have more of that again. So thank you for staying on this long. But again, don't be turned off by the fact of the topic that this is about. Because I'm not going to try to cover the politics and that kind of stuff a little bit. I'll touch on it a little bit just because I have to. But for the most part, I want to stick to the history. All right. So thank you again, and I will see you in the next episode. So until then, until next time, I will see you again.